Hey gaming fans, so today's just another discussion video. Some news is going around about some various formats that Konami might be sanctioning or allowing as far as, GOAT format and, being able to play the older formats. And then they also had a few other things like the common charity, I think they call it, where you're only allowed to play with commons. That one I'm kind of interested in too. I'm kind of intrigued and I want to look at that too. I do have some questions though. I wonder if they'll actually, if this stuff ever actually becomes official, if they will, kind of answer some of these questions. But what do they really consider a common? Because, cards like Pot of Duality, for instance, this card came out as a secret rare. And then later on was printed as a common in like some structure decks. So are you allowed to use Pot of Duality, or do you have to use cards that were common from the beginning, always been common? That's something that I just kind of popped in my head, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. But this video, I just want to talk a little bit about the Deckmaster format, which I always thought was an interesting idea. I remember watching it in the cartoon where you choose a Deckmaster to represent yourself, and then you can summon it to the field, and if that Deckmaster dies or something, it says gets destroyed. But I wonder if they'll clarify if it just leaves the field or whatever, then you lose the game. Really cool concept. I mean, they kind of did something similar with Speed Duel, where you kind of have this card that sits on the side, and then you can use this card. So I thought it was kind of interesting that they would do a Deckmaster thing, but there's going to be a lot of like rules they're going to have to like carve out, and probably even a ban list, because a lot of people are throwing around cards that are just, if you could, because what they basically say is you could use any card you want and summon it to the field without worrying about its summoning conditions. So for instance, cards like Herald of Ultimateness. Now normally this guy would have to be ritual summoned. He's like a level 12, I think he is. So you have to a lot of monsters just to get this guy out on the field. But this guy's got a defense of 3,000, and pretty much you just discard a fairy to negate any card that your opponent plays. This would be a tough one. I mean, if you went first and then you summoned your Deckmaster and this was your Deckmaster, you can literally just stop your opponent from playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Another one I was thinking about, even something as little as Thousand Eyes Restrict. Your opponent can't attack. Nobody can attack. And then if your opponent plays a monster, you can just suck it up and, as material. So that would be kind of an awful thing. Last Warrior from Another Planet. This basically says you can't play the game either. It says when this card is special summoned, destroy all monsters on your side of the field except this card. And as long as this card is face up on the field, both players cannot summon, including flip summon or special summon any monster. So you got the only monster on the field. Now, granted, your opponent will have spells and traps to deal with this type of stuff, but it still gives this kind of crazy advantage. Vanity's Fiend comes up a lot. People are talking about Vanity's Fiend and Vanity's Ruler. The same idea. You got this monster on the field, pretty big monster, and your opponent cannot special summon monsters or use effects of their monsters. So that could be pretty nutty. I mean, if you could start the game with Vanity's Ruler on the field and you didn't have to summon it two tributes to normally pull this guy out, or girl, to get it onto the field. But yeah, that's kind of weird. And the other card that popped in my head is Sophia, Goddess of Rebirth. I've been trying to build a deck around this card for a while. I've had a few ideas. It's really hard to summon. It must be special summoned from your hand by banishing one face-up ritual, fusion, synchro, and Xyz monster from anywhere on the field, and cannot be special summoned in other ways. When this card is special summoned, or this card's special summon cannot be negated. And when this card is special summoned, banish all other cards from both players' hands, fields, graveyards, and effects cannot be activated. That is nuts. I mean, if you pull this out, you'd wipe out your opponent's hand, anything off their field, in their graveyard, and you'd be the only one left with this big 3600 beat stick. That would be incredible. Now, the question is, what are the rulings going to be? And what type of summon is it going to be? Like, it says you could play your Deckmaster just by, summoning it to the field. Is it going to be considered a normal summon, a special summon? I guess they got to clarify that, because, this guy says when he's special summoned. So If this Deckmaster thing, you're normal summoning it, then it's not going to get its effect off, obviously. But these other guys, they will. I mean, so it's kind of interesting, and I'm kind of excited. I am quite excited to see that maybe GOAT format and Edison format and some of the other formats could actually become like, you know, proper tournaments that we can actually play. I'll be really curious to see how this goes. Something we've been looking out for and asking for and wanting for a very long time. But this just kind of intrigued me, though. You know, the Deckmaster format, but also that, like I said, the common one. I would love to do that. I always thought that would be a fun thing to do, try and build a deck out of just commons. But at the same time, like I said, there was a lot of cards that were just printed in structure decks and stuff like that. Even just reprint sets where they took a secret rare or ultra rare or whatever and printed it as a common. So does that count? Anyways, yeah, that's my little discussion video. Let me hear what you have to say. Throw some comments down below. I always like to hear what you have to say. Anyways, hope you liked the video. Hope you subscribe, and talk to you later.